This is my parents' first house. 1992, they paid $85,000. 3 bedrooms, a yard, a garage. Nothing fancy, just normal. That same house today? $420,000. I looked it up last week. Same street, same trees, different math. We earned twice what they earned. Adjusted maybe a little more, but we're not living twice as well. We're living with half the margin. And every piece of financial advice we've been handed, save 10%, skip the coffee, make a budget, was written for their economy, not ours. I'm Jordan, and this isn't about how to save more. It's about why normal is now the most expensive thing you can afford. Chapter 1. The House That Disappeared. Let's start with the house, because this is where the system stops creaking and starts screaming. According to the Economic Policy Institute's 2026 housing report, the median home price in America is now $408,000. In cities with actual jobs, that's your entry point. Not a dream home, a starter home. Here's what I didn't know until I dug into the data. In 2020, middle-income buyers could afford 50% of homes on the market. Today, 21%. That's not a cycle. That's a structural collapse. I remember reading that and thinking, maybe if I just earned a little more. But the math doesn't care about my effort. Home prices have risen 400% since 1990. Median income up 180%. I can't close a 220% gap with a side hustle. No one can. Freddie Mac data shows the typical family now needs $120,000 annually to afford the median home comfortably. The actual median household income is $74,000. That's not a gap, that's a canyon. Mortgage rates were 3% in 2021. Now, they're above 6%. On that $400,000 house, your monthly payment is over $1,000 higher than it was 4 years ago. That's not an increase. That's a second rent. Chapter 2. The $130,000 truck. Then there's the car. Edmunds' 2026 data puts the average new car payment at $737 a month. Trucks, $1,200. Let me show you what that actually costs. A $50,000 truck, 7-year loan at 7% interest. You sign the papers, drive off the lot, and the depreciation curve hits immediately. 20% gone before you reach your driveway. Over the life of that loan, you will pay approximately $130,000 for a vehicle that, after 10 years, will be worth about $15,000. You're not buying a truck. You're buying $115,000 in interest and depreciation. I did this. I had the truck. I made the payments. I told myself it was practical, for work, for safety, for status. But the real transaction was invisible. I was trading $400,000 of future compound growth for the feeling, right now, of having enough. Milton Friedman talked about the velocity of money, how fast it moves through the economy. Every time your paycheck hits your account, it flows out immediately. To the bank, the dealership, the landlord. You're not an owner. You're a conduit. And the worst part? Everyone does it. So it feels normal. But normal and smart are not the same thing. Normal in 2026 is a financial risk factor. Chapter 3. The $20,000 pivot. Naval Ravikant says, the modern American dream is to look rich while actually being broke. But here's what I didn't understand for years. The turning point isn't $1 million. It's not even $100,000. It's $20,000. Liquid, accessible, not invested, not in retirement accounts, just there. According to the Federal Reserve's 2025 report on household economic well-being, 47% of Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency expense. $400, not $4,000. Before you have $20,000 in liquid savings, every unexpected expense is a crisis. The transmission fails, crisis. Your kid needs stitches, crisis. The water heater dies, crisis. You're not making decisions. You're reacting to threats. I used to think risk tolerance was a personality trait. Some people are just wired to take risks, I told myself. I'm not one of them. But that's wrong. Risk tolerance isn't about your personality. It's about your bank account. Give someone $20,000 in savings, and suddenly, they're not the same person. They negotiate harder. They switch jobs. They start things. They weren't cowardly before. They just couldn't afford the fall. A 2024 Northwestern Mutual study found that people with 6 months of expenses saved are 3 times more likely to leave a toxic job, twice as likely to negotiate salary, and 4 times more likely to launch a side project. Not because they're braver, because the consequence of failure changed. I'm going to pause here for a moment, because I want to ask you something. Not about numbers, about that feeling I just described, the one before you have the buffer, the one where every unexpected thing feels like a crisis. If you're willing, I'd like you to write in the comments what that feels like for you. Not your income, not your debt, just what's the one thing you're most afraid might happen? The thing that keeps you up at night, even if you don't say it out loud. I'll start. For me, it was the car. Every weird sound, every dashboard light, I'd feel this cold weight in my chest. Not because of the repair cost, because I knew I didn't have the room. And that feeling, that constant low-grade fear, it changes how you move through the world. It makes you smaller. I'm not asking you to share it for me. I'm asking you to share it for yourself. Sometimes just saying it, just naming the fear, makes it a little less heavy. And I promise, if you read the comments after this, you'll see you're not the only one carrying it. Chapter 4. The Order of Operations. Ramit Sethi's framework is simple. Most people ignore it because it's not exciting, but excitement is the enemy of accuracy. Step 1. If your employer offers a 401k match, you take it. Not next year, not when you have more breathing room. Today. If they match 4%, you contribute 4%. That's a 100% immediate return. No investment in history consistently beats 100%. None. Step 2. High-interest debt. Credit cards, 22 to 27% APR. Personal loans, 11 to 15%. Payday loans, don't start. The S&P 500's historical compound annual growth rate is 10.5%. If you are paying 22% on debt while hoping for 10% from the market, you are not building wealth. You are lighting money on fire. Step 3. $20,000. Not invested, not in crypto, not in options, in a high-yield savings account. 4.2% APY, FDIC insured, zero volatility. This is not a return strategy. This is an oxygen tank. Step 4. Now you invest 15 to 20% of gross income. Low-cost, broad-market index funds. VOO, IVV, the boring stuff. Not because it's sexy, because it works. I fought this sequence for years. I wanted to skip ahead. I wanted to invest before the debt was gone. Because investing felt like progress, and paying debt felt like cleaning up someone else's mess. But the mess was mine, and cleaning it was the progress. Chapter 5. The Boring Middle. Here's what no one tells you about the first $100,000. It takes forever. It feels pointless. And during almost all of it, compound interest is not your friend. It's barely paying attention to you. $500 a month into an S&P 500 ETF. 7% CAGR. Conservative. Below historical average. Not 10, because we don't plan on perfect decades. 0 to 20,000, 2 years, 8 months. 20 to 50,000, 3 years, 11 months. 50 to 100,000, 5 years, 2 months. Total, 11 years, 9 months. That's not a sprint. That's a geological timescale. You will change jobs. You will move. You will doubt. You will watch friends buy things you can't afford, go places you can't go, and you will sit at home on a Friday night wondering if you're wasting your life. I spent years in this phase. I remember staring at my account balance, $37,000 after 4 years, and thinking, this is it? 4 years of saying no, and this is all I have? But here's what I didn't see then. After 100,000, the math flips. 100 to 200,000, 5 years, 2 months. 200 to 300,000, 3 years, 10 months. 300 to 400,000, 2 years, 11 months. The first 100,000 is 80% your contribution, 20% market. The second is 50-50. The third is 30-70. At some point, quietly, without ceremony, you stop being the primary investor in your own life. The market takes over. You're just the person who didn't quit. Chapter 6. 2 families. I want to tell you about 2 people I know. Same city, similar incomes, both in their mid-30s in 2026. Mark and his wife bought the house. $410,000. 6.25% interest. Monthly payment, $2,900. Plus taxes, plus insurance. $3,800 all in. They financed the SUV. $52,000. 7-year loan. $760 a month. And they had $12,000 in credit card debt at 22%. After taxes and minimum payments, they have negative $200 of margin every month. Not zero. Negative. They're not building wealth. They're bleeding. Elena and her partner rent. $1,900 a month. 2-bedroom apartment. Not glamorous, but the landlord fixes the boiler. They bought a 2019 Honda Civic. Cash. $12,000. No payment. They paid off their credit cards in 14 months. Then they built the $20,000 buffer. Then they started investing. 4 years in, $68,000 in VU. 7 years in, $143,000. Mark's driveway has a newer truck. Elena's driveway has a car from 2019. Mark's living room has new furniture. Elena's living room has a growing balance. After 10 years, Mark has about $60,000 in home equity and $15,000 left on the truck. Elena has $280,000 in liquid assets. Normal and smart are not the same thing. Normal in 2026 is a financial risk factor. Chapter 7. The Walking Away Number. Charlie Munger said, "The first rule of compounding is never interrupt it unnecessarily." But most people don't interrupt compounding because they're greedy. They interrupt it because they're scared. They lose their job. Their water heater explodes. Their kid needs braces. They don't have the buffer. So they sell the investments. They lock in the loss. They restart the clock. This is why the 20,000 matters. Not as a number, as a shield. Once you have it, you stop interrupting compounding. You stop selling at the bottom. You stop financing emergencies at 22%. You stop being the weak link in your own financial chain. I used to think success was a big house. Then I thought it was $1 million. Then I thought it was early retirement. But now I think success is simpler. Success is having walking away money. The ability to say no to a job that's destroying your mental and physical health. The ability to take a lower-paying role with better growth. The ability to sleep through a market correction. That's not wealth in the Instagram sense. That's wealth in the Roman sense. Dignitas. The quiet status of not needing to prove anything. Everything else is just expensive decoration. Chapter 8. The quiet after. I've given you a lot of numbers tonight. Studies, names, percentages. They matter. I wouldn't have included them if they didn't. But they're not the point. The point is this. The economy of 2026 is not designed for your success. It's designed to extract maximum profit from your anxiety about falling behind. Every ad, every Instagram post, every well-meaning relative asking when you're buying a house, it's all pushing you toward decisions that benefit everyone except you. The bank wins when you stretch for that mortgage. The dealership wins when you sign that 7-year loan. The system profits from your compliance. But here's what they can't take from you: the ability to say no. The discipline to look stupid for a decade while you build something real. The courage to drive past the nice neighborhoods in your paid-off sedan, knowing you're stacking cash while they're stacking payments. That's not deprivation. That's sovereignty. I don't know where you are in this. Maybe you're still paying off the debt. Maybe you just hit the 20,000. Maybe you're 100,000 in and wondering if it's worth it. But I'd like to know, not your salary, not your savings rate, just what's the decision you'd make differently if you knew you had a buffer? What would you try? What would you risk? If you feel like it, write it in the comments. I read them. I'll do my best to respond to everyone. And I promise you, you're not the only one wondering. If this video gave you a new lens, if it made something invisible visible, I'd be grateful if you pressed the like button, not for the algorithm, just as a quiet signal that this conversation mattered to someone. And if you want to keep exploring these hidden systems together, week by week, you're welcome to subscribe. But only if this felt real. Only if it wasn't just noise. Thank you for your time, for your attention. That's the only currency that can't be printed. I'm Jordan.